Commas. Are they really important? Do they make a difference? Let's see. Let's eat Grandpa. Or should it be, let's eat, comma, Grandpa? There's a world of difference to Grandpa with that comma. Here's an interesting true tale from Middleton, Ohio. Because if you still think commas aren't important, a woman in Middleton, Ohio got out of an expensive parking ticket because of a comma. True story. In Middleton, Ohio, Ohio's 12th District Court of Appeals ruled in favor of punctuation and grammar. Andrea Camilleri won her appeal against the village of West Jefferson, Ohio, which was centered around proper punctuation and the use of the comma. Camilleri's case lasted more than a year. It all started when she was cited for parking her pickup truck on a street in West Jefferson, Ohio. She parked her car on a street that banned parking, quote, any motor vehicle, camper, trailer, farm implement, and or non-motorized vehicle for more than 24 hours. Camilleri pointed out that the ordinance prohibited any motor vehicle, camper, trailer, farm implement, and or non-motorized vehicle from day-long parking. She said that her pickup truck is not a motor vehicle camper. The village argued that the lack of a comma separating motor vehicle from camper was a typo and did not invalidate her violation. Camilleri was initially convicted, but she filed an appeal. Upon appeal, the court ruled with Camilleri. Grammar counts, the judge said. Judge Robert A. Hendrickson ruled, by utilizing rules of grammar and employing the common meaning of terms, motor vehicle camper has a clear definition that does not produce an absurd result. The decision said, if the village desires a different reading, it should amend the ordinance and insert a comma between the phrase motor vehicle and the word camper. So are commas important? Teaching Lab Week 4, comma rules. Today you're going to learn only six basic comma rules. There are lots of rules for commas, but these 6 rules will get you through probably 90% of what you're going to be writing this year. Rule 1, items in a series. Use a comma between items that are listed in a series. That simple. If the series has 3 or more words, you need a comma. Take a look at this example. I have my laptop, my pens, my pencils, and my MP3 player in my backpack. Where do commas go? These are words in a series. You notice there are 4 nouns that this guy has in his backpack. Where do we separate it? How about this one? We robbed a big bank, ran from the law, realized the error of our ways, and turned ourselves in. Where do we make this confession sensible? Where do we put the commas? These are all phrases in a series, so we separate them with commas. Let's look back at that first backpack. The first comma goes after laptop, and then my pens. The next item, my pencils, and my MP3 player. The fourth one does not need punctuation. The bank, we put a comma. We ran from the law, put a comma. Realize the error of our ways, a comma. Now the interesting thing here is some teachers do not require the comma before the conjunction and. But it's so important in some sentences that it's best to put it in most of the time, all the time, unless that teacher tells you otherwise. And it even has a special name. It's called the Oxford comma. So if you want to impress your instructor, ask them, "Excuse me, sir, do you require the Oxford comma? He'll be so impressed that you even know the name. The Oxford comma is also known as the serial comma, which sounds to me as if it is a serial killer. It's the comma used just before conjunctions, usually and or, and it precedes the final item in the list of 3 or more items. This is why we use the Oxford comma. Take a look at this sentence. Robert Williams accepted his Academy Award and said, "Many people helped me achieve greatness. I wish to thank my parents, Queen Elizabeth and LeBron James." Who are his parents? Queen Elizabeth and LeBron James? Did LeBron James hook up with Queen Elizabeth some romantic evening and have Robert? We need that Oxford comma. We need to separate and clarify what we're saying. Obviously, LeBron James, Queen Elizabeth, and his parents inspired Robert Williams. Your writing must be clear, and the Oxford comma will help you make it so. Comma rule number 2. Commas in compound sentences. A compound sentence contains 2 complete sentences joined by a coordinating conjunction, such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. The common name for these conjunctions is, you know it, fanboys. Always place a comma before the coordinating fanboy conjunction. Look at these 2 examples. He bought every textbook required for his course, but he never read any of them. Brianna really wanted the job, so she dressed very professionally for the interview. The coordinating conjunction, the fanboy, in the first sentence is but, so we have to have a comma there. The coordinating conjunction in the second, the fanboy, is for, so we must have a comma there. Which takes us directly to comma 3, which couldn't wait to get here. Dependent clauses. Use a comma after a dependent clause when it begins a sentence. Dependent clauses begin with words such as if, because, after, when. There are many, many dependent clauses, and they depend on something else for meaning. Let's look at a few examples. While I was taking notes, the instructor told us that all of her notes were posted online. Whenever I close my eyes, I see the face of my former girlfriend. Even though I have the flu, I must finish my essay before class on Tuesday. Take a look at these 3 examples. Each of them begins with a dependent clause, so they require a comma, because the dependent clause is telling us when something happened. While I was taking notes, comma, the instructor told us that all of her notes were posted online. Whenever I close my eyes, that's when it happens. Put a comma. I see the face of my former girlfriend. Even though I have the flu, comma, I must finish my essay before class on Tuesday. An introductory dependent clause has to be set off from the remainder of the sentence. Rule number 4. This is the easy one. The introductory word or phrase. Always place a comma after a direct address, which can be a name, and after an introductory word or phrase. Carlos, kiss me. I need a comma. I'm speaking directly to Carlos, so he needs to be set off from the command, kiss me. After kissing her, Carlos replied that she must have mistaken him for someone else because he had never seen her before in his life. When did this happen? Smart Carlos. After he kissed her. Any direct address, introductory phase, needs to be separated from the rest of the sentence with a comma. Rule number 5, interrupters. Those rude words in the middle of a sentence that interrupt the flow. You put commas around words or phrases that interrupt the flow of the sentence, such as descriptive phrases or words like of course or in my opinion. Emerson, the boy in the first row, is going to be my husband. The New England Patriots, the new Super Bowl champions, are the best team in the NFL. We hope, of course, that LSCS students excel in the future. Where are these interrupters? Where is the additional information plugged into the middle of this sentence that interrupt the flow to give us more information? Who's Emerson? Well, he's the boy in the first row. He's going to be my husband. Could I take out that part that's surrounded by commas? And would it still be a sentence? To check if you are going to separate this part of the sentence from the rest of the sentence, simply read it without those words. Emerson is going to be my husband. Still a sentence? Still a complete thought? Then you have punctuated it correctly. The New England Patriots, the new Super Bowl champions, are the best team in the NFL. The new Super Bowl champions is the interrupter. So you put commas around it. We hope, of course, that LSC students excel in the future. That, of course, is an interrupter. So we put commas around it. I don't know about you, but I like interesting things about words. So here's a little something to feed your brain. When it comes to professional teams, baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever, they are always plural. The Astros are our home team. The Tigers are a baseball team. However, at some point, someone, well, we'll blame Florida, was out in the heat for much too long, and the sun got to them. So they named their new team the Miami Heat. The Heat are a team? What? That just doesn't sound right, does it? Sportscasters, sports writers, all had problems with how do we handle this? What do we do? Well, the Associated Press style book made the command decision. All team names are plural. If you're referring only to a team, such as my team has a game today, then that's singular. But if you're a professional, then you get to be plural. Rule number 6, the catch-all comma. Use a comma for all of these instances before and after the titles of individuals to separate addresses, city from state, city from country, etc. To separate dates, the day from the month or the year, and in numbers of more than 4 digits. Catherine Pearson, PhD, is the president at LSC-Kingwood. Where would that comma go? I dream of living on Anna Marie Island, Florida. I was born on July 15th, 1992. I was born on Wednesday, July 4th. You owe me $4 million. Where do we put commas? Catherine Pearson is indeed the president of our college. She has a PhD. Put the comma around PhD. That is her title. So you would address her as Dr. Pearson. I dream of living on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Separate Anna Marie Island from Florida. I was born on July, this one's so easy, you've been doing it since you were 6, July 15th, 1992. And that is the truth. I was born on 1992. That's not true. But the second part is I was born on Wednesday, comma, July 4th. You owe me $4 million. That part is actually very true. For doing this seminar today, send me a check that I can cash for $4 million. I love spaghetti. I love cheese. But I don't love it when students sprinkle their essay with commas as if it were cheese. Use them when they need to be used. Do not use a comma unless you know the rule for it. And please, I'm begging you now, please, don't use a comma just because you paused and took a breath. Use a comma only if you know the rule for it. and wear your commas with style.